Welcome to another episode of Pilots Say What, where we get to hear what pilots have to say. My name is Zach. I host this podcast each week on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and any other streaming platform you can think of. You can find us. Go ahead and look us up. That's why you're here. I am talking with Adrian today. I'm excited because me and Adrian, we've talked a handful of times, just being here at Thrust, but I still haven't gotten to know you that much. And you just finished your private recently, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think there was a comment on one of our recent YouTube episodes where someone asked for someone who's more relevant to the private rating, so we can get some insight there. And so that's one reason why we'll be talking to you today. But before we get into everything, would you mind introducing yourself briefly, a little bit about who you are and where you're at in your training?
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my name is Adrian, and I started at Thrust Flight back in September of 2025. And before that, I was an aircraft mechanic, and I wanted to chase my dream of becoming a pilot. So I came to Thrust, and now I have my private pilot license. So it's been pretty fun
That's
so
pretty
far.
cool. Private pilot rating was it can be pretty tough, right?
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah, that's what
definitely.
people say. They say it's one
Yeah,
of the hardest ratings.
it is. It is for
I
sure.
didn't know that you were an aircraft mechanic before. Yeah,
Yes.
you have your A&P.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. How long did you do that?
So I did it for about 7.5 years, and I still would on the side, but
Yeah.
now I primarily want to be a pilot.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, I mean it's it seems like a lot of pilots sometimes will go get their A&P as well. So it doesn't seem too offhand to have. It's relevant. What did you do before you were an A&P, if you don't mind me asking?
Before I was A&P,
Hmm.
I was in school to play football. I was studying kinesiology,
Yeah.
and I was just I had a dream of going to the NFL one day, and
Yeah.
that didn't work out. So it
Yeah.
was like, okay, I need to do something that is, I can make a living
Right.
off of, and also something I enjoy. So
Right.
I figured, why not?
Did you play football in high school?
Mhm.
It's like a big part of your high school experience.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I asked that because I like when people are like when I'm talking to a pilot and they have some sort of thing they were really into before because there's
Yeah.
always some sort of connection I feel like
Yeah.
somebody can draw there.
Yeah.
Let's zoom out a little bit further then. When was the first time you remember being interested in aviation before, like even before becoming an AMP?
Well, honestly, there was one day where my stepfather actually randomly took me and my cousins
Mm.
on a discovery flight. It was just, they were in town visiting, and then he was like, "Y'all wake up," and we went
Yeah,
to the local airport and went on a discovery flight.
it's cool.
I want to say I was like maybe probably around 8 years old
Right.
at the time,
Yeah.
and I got to hold the yoke and
Uh-huh.
move the ailerons to the left, and I was like, just
It's
move the
great.
plane, and
Yeah.
it was from there. I honestly from there I
Mhm.
didn't think about it again until my grandfather was like, "Hey, you know, have you ever thought about flying?"
Right.
So
What
after
made him
that.
ask that? Did he fly?
So my grandfather was actually on track to become a naval pilot. He
Okay.
was going to fly helicopters, but he
Wow.
had an injury right before he was getting ready to fully enroll. So,
Okay.
well, enlist.
Right.
And after that, he started working in a different field,
Mhm.
but he would always push aviation, and
Yeah.
it never really clicked until I got older. I was like, wow, this whole
Yeah.
time he was just like, hey,
Kind of sprinkling it in, and
yeah,
then so it put it in the back of your mind a little bit.
yeah.
What kind of led you to becoming an AMP? Was that were in school and then you were realizing like maybe I should start shifting a little bit,
Mhm.
and then how did AMP come up?
So my
Yeah.
grandfather, he was like, let's a discovery flight. Went on another discovery flight, and he was like, "Let's go on this discovery flight and see if you like it." And I
Yeah.
did like it. And honestly, what made me become an AMP was when I first discovered how
Mhm.
much flight school was. I
Right.
was a little nervous at first. I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And I became an AMP because I love anything dealing with mechanics, like cars and
Right.
anything with mechanics.
Yeah.
So I always loved working on cars, and I figured it would transition over easily, and it
Right.
did.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I can imagine that. I've always, I actually thought I would end up working on planes at one point in the past.
Mhm.
Like when I was in high school, I remember I had like an automotive program in one of the high schools I went to, and
Yeah.
I always wanted to do that, but I didn't stay on track with that after moving around a little bit, and I
Mhm.
got involved with other things. Um, it's kind of cool to be around it now again.
Yeah.
uh, you just finished your private recently, and so what you just started working on your commercial?
Well, I'm in instrument
I
right
mean, I'm
now.
sorry, instrument.
Mhm.
How's that transition going? Is how are you finding instrument to go?
Instrument is like another language when it
Yeah,
comes to everything.
yeah,
After going through private and learning all the ground knowledge and learning the maneuvers and how
yeah.
to land and take off,
Hmm.
performance landing and takeoffs and everything involved with that. And then now I'm an instrument, and it's like it's a different way of doing things. You have to
Right.
trust your instruments, so it's just like, wow, okay, this
It-
is a
It's
whole nother language.
yeah, it's almost like by the book in a way, but
Yeah.
it's like to kind of clear your mind and focus on the numbers a little bit, huh?
Exactly.
So you're still got you're still starting your journey. It seems like, but what's kind of the vision? Like, where do you want to get with it? Do you imagine going to the airlines? Do you imagine kind of working on a corporate jet, or do you have like an idea of what you want?
I'm honestly open to both
Uh huh.
because I think corporate is also as amazing as the airlines,
Right.
and I've always heard that once you go corporate, you don't really look at the airlines, and you like what you're in most of the time. And
Right.
the same thing with airlines. Once you get to the airlines, it's like you love it, you don't want to leave. So it's
Right.
just like I'm open to both, honestly.
Right. Okay, gotcha. I think so far what we've talked about, right? Like you went on that discovery flight kind of randomly when you're 8 years old. You get to a point to where you're like, going through college and you're like, I want to be a little more involved in aviation. Flight training seems like a little difficult and expensive, right? It's
Mhm.
intimidating, and so you get your AMP.
Mhm.
Did you work as an AMP for a little while?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. How long did you work as an AMP? Did you say?
7.5 years.
Okay, okay, gotcha. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 30.
See, okay, gotcha. I'm 31, so,
It's
but
nice.
I wouldn't
30
have known.
club.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known. But I'm saying you work as an AMT for a little while, and then um, something pushes you to go ahead and say, you know what, I do still want to fly.
Mhm.
I want to know a little bit more about that because it was a little intimidating when you were younger, but then
Mhm.
you get to a point to where like that kind of changes.
Yeah.
What was it like leading up to actually applying for flight school?
Well, so I transitioned from being a stationary AMP to
Hmm.
a flight mechanic,
Okay.
and being a flight mechanic really exposed me to like, oh yeah, you definitely still want to be a pilot because
Yeah.
I would have to go with the plane wherever it went and got to sit in the flight deck sometimes
Okay.
during takeoff and landings and sometimes in
Yeah.
cruise. And I just sitting up there and paying attention to the ATC calls and what the pilots were doing and how they were operating and everything.
Hmm.
I was like, man, this is really cool. Like I love working on it, and I love being with the crew and
Right.
following the aircraft and making sure that we're keeping it safe. But I was just like, I still want to be a
Yeah, I still want to
pilot.
do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, was there a moment where like you kind of were thinking about it but didn't act on it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
what kind of like pushed the envelope? The interest just grew and it bubbled up.
Yes, it did.
Gotcha. So what about the first time you actually looked into a flight school? Did you already kind of know where you wanted to go?
No, I didn't.
Uh-huh.
There was a few flight schools that I was interested in,
Right.
and I toured one other one and also
Mhm.
this one, and I was
Okay.
like, yeah, I want to come here. I want to come to Thrust. Like
Yeah.
seriously, you hear all the time like places like when you go to somewhere that they say, oh, this is a family environment, but I came to Thrust and I ended up coming on the Thrust day,
Mhm.
and yeah, so I
I
went
didn't
on
know
the
that.
yeah, it
Was it
was
was it the last year? Was it like on the big thrust day?
yeah, it was last year. It
Okay,
was
okay,
last
cool.
year, and I went on the tour, and like after the tour they were like, "What are you doing after this?" I was like, "Nothing." They're like, "Okay, just stick around. It's Thrust Day, so
Okay.
stick around." And I stuck around and got to witness a Thrust Day and saw the environment and saw how everybody
Yeah.
was interacting with each other. And I was
Right.
like, "This is amazing." I got to speak to some pilots
Hmm.
and also some mechanics who were at the school themselves, and I was
Right.
like, "Yep, this is the place I want to be for
Yeah,
sure."
that's
So
cool. Do you remember what month that was last year?
I want to say it was. I want to say it was August.
August. Okay,
Yeah, I want
gotcha.
to
I was
say it
just
was
curious
August.
because I
Yeah.
remember we started trying to make sure that we have some tours come through on
Hmm.
Thursday. Not, I don't know about yours being on purpose, but the
Not.
idea is we want people to kind of see what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's good to know. It's good to know. So you kind of get to feel that when you came in, and that kind of makes you decide, okay, this is the place
Hmm.
I want to try out. Um, but was there anything still kind of in your way? What about the intimidating thing? Did that kind of go away?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I was still very nervous coming
Yeah.
into it because, you still doing something new. I haven't really done that much.
Right.
I've only flown an aircraft before starting at thrust, like just a few times. That's
Yeah.
it. And just coming here and finally getting my feet wet and
Hmm.
really doing it is just, I started to get way more and more comfortable.
That makes sense.
So.
And the reason I'm asking this question like this is because there's a lot of people who are like want to fly,
Hmm.
right? Like every time I'm talking on this podcast, I feel like there's a lot of people who think about it for a long time before they do it,
Hmm.
and I'm wondering how many people are out there that just don't, that haven't and aren't going to or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, what is it gonna take for them to like say, let me try this out? Maybe some people aren't gonna go to thrust. Maybe they're just all over the country and they say, I want to do it, but I don't know what to do.
Mhm.
Um, what would you say to somebody who's like kind of just thinking about it but not doing it?
I would say, like, go on a discovery flight and make sure that you
Yeah.
actually like it. And I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure you will.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get up there and, they give you the controls for a minute and you start maneuvering the aircraft and you're like,
Yeah.
this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And like you really just have to go out there and get your feet wet and
Yeah.
do it. I had a hard time wrapping my mind around leaving my current job and
Yeah.
then coming here and doing it full time. But I was so glad that I did because I got advice from some people who told me like you're going to have to dig into this full time.
Yeah.
And like I said, I had a hard time wrapping my mind around it. I was
Hmm.
like, okay.
And was there something that kind
And
of like? Is there a reason why? Is it because you the security or what was it
yeah,
potentially that made it hard for you?
yeah. So it's just like I've always, since I was younger, I've always had a job.
Hmm.
Even in high school, I've always worked. There
Yeah.
wasn't a time where I didn't really have a job of like working.
Right.
And by that I mean like working while full time or part time. It's
Yeah.
always working.
Right.
And flight school at a 141 is literally your job. Like
Yeah.
you have to put in the grind, you have to put in the work, and you have to study day in and day out. So it's just like no matter what you're doing, it's work.
Yeah. Exactly.
You're working. Like
And so you just kind of accepted like that I'm gonna go ahead and quit and I'm gonna go full time training. A lot of people when they hear that, if they don't understand how it works, they're like, "How can you afford to not work?"
mm,
Have you ever had to have that conversation with anyone?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. How does that kind of go? Like, what are you able to tell them?
Yeah. So
If you don't
like
mind me asking, it's
yeah,
kind of
no, I
personal, the
no
finance and stuff. But
no,
yeah.
definitely I don't mind.
Okay.
So Sally Mae, a lot of people either they completely pay for flight school out of pocket or they
Mhm.
take out a loan.
Right.
Me personally, I went with Sally Mae
Hmm.
and that was the best thing to work with my situation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what's helped me be able to not only go to flight school, but
Hmm.
still be able to take care of the things I need to take care of.
Right. So you were able to do like what is it called? Like a subsidize your
Yeah.
expenses
Yeah.
and things like that, so it can help you
Yeah.
live while going to training,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
I guess that would be a lot more difficult if the training wasn't fast, because then it
Hmm.
had to subsidize your living for longer.
Yeah.
Um, that's a big number though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a
It
big number.
is.
Like, how did you get over that number? Because in my mind, I'm thinking
Hmm.
like, man, I don't know if I want to take out like a big loan.
Hmm.
What if this doesn't happen, or what if this happens?
Hmm.
Did you kind of go through that thought process?
Yeah. I did.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you just
I ultimately know like this is what I wanted to do. So I was just like, this is what scared you away in the first place anyway. So go do it. Like
yeah.
this is what you want to do.
You just said I'm gonna do it anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just kind of comes down to that simple. That's one reason I like talking to you guys because
Mhm.
um, at, it's enough to maybe stop you for a little while, but
Mhm.
once the bug bites you and you got the itch
Mhm.
to fly, I feel like at some point you just gotta like you come to everyone always comes to that conclusion that this is what I want to do. So so what?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Let's talk about your private a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, you were exposed to aviation a little bit before you actually signed up for thrust flight.
Yes.
Can you talk to me a little bit about your first day?
At Thrust Flight,
Yeah, at thrust flight. Yeah.
to be honest with you, it was pretty cool because it was another Thrust Day.
Yeah.
It was a celebration of pilots or mechanics that were coming into the school, the organization, and
Right.
we all were getting recognized for starting here, and then also pilots or mechanics that were at the school who got a rating or certification.
Right.
They were also being celebrated, and everybody was just having a good time.
Right.
So we went from that and then went straight to class, you know, just right to it.
Just
So
right. Yeah, and I
yeah,
know I've been on some of those orientations. They really just throw you guys in there, huh?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
How long did it take before you first flew a plane?
Um, honestly, I think we were in the sim for about a week, and
Okay.
then after a week, it was like, yeah, let's go fly.
In the air.
Yeah, you hop in the plane. You're really doing this.
Yeah,
So
and you fly like the first time, right? Like, I mean,
yes,
they have you controlling the aircraft, right?
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? Did you expect to be flying so quickly?
No, I did. I honestly did not. I was shocked. I was surprised. I was like, okay, this is the best thing to actually do. Just go ahead. Let's start now.
Gotcha. Were
So
you nervous about that at all?
yeah,
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, that'd
yeah.
be kind of crazy. So, how long did it take before you could land the plane by yourself?
Before I could land a plane by myself,
Yeah,
I would
without any
say
intervention.
I would say probably like about within the first week.
Yeah,
Within the first week, yeah.
that's wild. So you're telling me you start flight training,
Mhm.
and then within about a week you're landing a plane.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's wild. I don't know. That sounds just crazy to me. If you're like not a pilot,
Mm.
I'm sure you could hear something like that and think like, "How is that possible?" But I guess that's just how we do it. What was one of the most difficult parts about your private rating?
I would say that the fact that you have to study every single day,
Yeah.
like you really have to dig into the books, and you also have to chair fly all the time.
Okay.
It helps transition over to the aircraft.
Yeah.
So the hardest part was just really studying,
Yeah.
like because you can't just look at all the information that you need to for about 30 minutes to an hour a day. Sometimes you really have to go in to up to 3 hours a day
Yeah.
and make sure it's embedded within your mind and then,
Right.
apply it. So
So, what are some of the things that you did to help do that? Because some people I know when I was younger, I was like, I don't know what even studying really is. I don't know
mhm.
how do I get this to go in my brain. What are some things you did to help study for your private rating?
Study with other pilots. There was like at the school, there's always study groups, people who are studying within their different ratings or
Hmm.
certifications, and everyone's bouncing information off of each other and
Hmm.
just coming together to try to make sure everyone understands what's going on
Right.
and quizzing each other and also just making sure that the knowledge is there because I believe that a great pilot starts on the ground. You have to know the ground knowledge before you get in the plane,
Right.
and otherwise it's like, what are you doing? You got
Yeah.
to know both. So
A lot of people imagine, like we have a lot of people who change careers. You changed your career, right? I mean, maybe it was a little more adjacent, but we have people who were once accountants and
mhm,
lawyers or flight attendants or whatever,
yeah.
and they come into this job because they didn't want to be at a desk anymore,
Hmm.
or they wanted something different, and they imagine, oh, this is more hands on. I like this. Would you describe this as a hands on training experience?
Definitely.
Gotcha. I guess the reason I asked that is because you think that you just go in the fly, you learn how to fly a plane while like hands on, and you do. But you mentioned also the ground course thing. Can you talk a little more about how important it is to kind of understand what's going on the ground? Because people think it's about flying a plane, but it's not just that.
No, it's not. It's
Yeah.
not
Can you
like
explain that to someone who wouldn't understand?
yeah. So when it comes to operating an aircraft,
Mhm.
you have things like your POH, your pilot operating handbook, and that tells you how the aircraft operates.
Mhm.
But you also have things like FARs, Federal Aviation Regulations, that tells you all the different rules that you have to abide by when it comes to becoming a pilot and
Mhm.
staying a pilot legally.
Right.
And also, by legal, I mean being current when it comes to your ratings and your certifications. And
Mhm.
then also what rules you have to abide by in the air and
Mhm.
also on the ground.
Mhm.
So, with that being said, there's ground classes that you have to go to,
Mhm.
and your instructor will go over a lot of different things and pretty much break down what all you need to apply to flying the plane because we have a lot of ground knowledge that we have to learn,
Right.
and it's things like airspace. Like
Right.
you have to know what airspace you can fly into,
Mhm.
and with certain equipment, and also like when you're flying, how fast you can go, and
Right.
your ceilings and everything.
Yeah.
So it it gets very technical, and you really have to know before you get into plane what to expect.
Right.
So
Um, I I think that a lot of people aren't they don't really realize how much studying and book knowledge and ground knowledge there is before signing up. Sometimes I'm like, wow, I didn't know it was going to be so intensive about learning, which I mean, I guess it makes sense in hindsight, but um, it sounds like a difficult thing to do. Um, is there anything else that you've done that was this hard? I guess I really what I want to ask you is how has your experience, maybe even just from being on a team like at in football, your experience there and the push you had to make athletically or whatever it might be, and what about the push that you had to make when it becoming an AMT? Um, are you able to pull from those experiences to kind of help inform how you want to become a pilot?
Definitely.
Yeah, and what way can you think that it's similar to? Would you draw any similarity between football and training as a pilot?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. When I was training to be the best defensive back I could become,
Yeah.
I had to work very hard and do things like two a days when it came to training. I would get up in the morning and run a 5K, and then in the evening still do cardio and also weightlifting, and then try to do that within 5 days. Take 2 days off. You have
Mhm.
to apply that same mindset of like working hard physically, also with when it comes to being a pilot, you have to literally get in the books. Before you go to class, you should be studying.
Yeah.
After class, you should be studying. And if it's not by yourself, it needs to be with other people. And also study with someone who knows the information, because you don't want to be both of y'all telling each other the wrong things, and
Right.
verifying with CFIs, and also just looking back at all of the things that you are looking back at it and making sure that it's correct.
Right.
Because
Being thorough.
yeah, being thorough.
Yeah.
You definitely need to apply as much ground knowledge as possible
Right.
to flying the aircraft, because it's just like, if I sit at the house, because
Mhm.
when you're not flying is when you have the time to just imbibe and gain. So
Yeah.
when I'm not flying, I'm trying to chair fly and make sure I'm
Yeah.
going through the checklist for emergency procedures. So when I get in the plane, it transitions over and it's like
Right.
right there. It's
Right.
muscle memory.
Yeah.
So
You got to put in the time, is what I'm hearing. You draw the distinction between the two.
mhm.
Okay. What has been so far? You already said studying, but what is something that like you were kind of struggling with
Mhm.
that you maybe had to put a little extra effort into? I
Mhm.
mean, maybe there's a maneuver, maybe there's like a concept or something like that, or maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's just something about how to maneuver, like how to move through your training. What is maybe something that you had to kind of change your mindset around in order to get past it?
Well, chair flying.
Yeah.
You have a maneuver guide that you go by when it comes to your maneuvers, and there's multiple different ground maneuvers, and you can
Yeah.
read them. But if you're not acting it out as you're sitting in the plane, as you're reading it,
Yeah.
then you're just reading it and you're memorizing it. But when you're acting it out, it literally transitions over to be, exactly how it says in the maneuver guide.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
and
it's a little awkward though, right? Is that what
yeah.
it's like, kind of weird about it at first?
Sometimes, yeah,
Yeah.
at first when you're first doing it, you're like, why am I doing this right now? And then you get in the plane and you're like, oh, that's why I was doing that. it
Yeah.
it clicks like that.
Yeah.
And also, one thing that was difficult for me was when the weather changed.
Mm,
The performance of the aircraft changes as well, so now your values change a little bit, and you have to know how to operate the aircraft with the different temperature, because
yeah.
it's going to perform better during the colder days. So you got to
Right.
pull that throttle back a little bit. You'll be going really fast before you know it. So
Yeah. I don't think that I understood how much weather really affected things on such a like granular level until I started, having these kinds of conversations. You talked about the chair flying, you talked about studying, and then what I really want to know more about is, can you describe the private pilot rating? What someone
mhm,
should expect if they're starting flight training?
mhm.
What should they expect from their private pilot rating?
So with your private pilot rating,
Hmm.
you can expect to be able to fly and take your family and friends up, but
Yeah.
once you're comfortable, because
Yeah.
obviously, like, you're current, and you're legal to go up and fly, but you have to be proficient as well.
Yeah.
So even once you get it, you still should continue your training. You still should
Right.
continue studying. You still should continue looking at everything, and pursuing either another rating, and in my opinion, I say pursue another rating as well, like
Yeah.
instrument, so you can fly
Right.
in instrument conditions or inclement weather.
Hmm.
That is still, like
Right.
makes sense for you to fly in.
Yeah.
But
Well, one thing I wonder about is because people don't even know what you can do with your private.
mhm,
What I'm even wondering too is when you first become a student at
mhm.
Thrustlight, what are the kind of the steps that you have to go through?
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
yeah, I mean,
okay.
is it like long? I mean, what do you
No,
expect? I don't even know how it works, or some
so
people don't.
you need to get your medical. You
Hmm.
have to make sure that you get your medical and that
Hmm.
you are able to fly.
Hmm.
That's always the first thing.
Right.
It's very important as a pilot or aviator. You need to make sure that you have your medical,
Right.
and you want to go for a first class medical because that
Hmm.
sets you up to where you can fly at ATP status, the airline transport status.
Right.
But if you don't want to fly for the airlines, you can get a second class or a commercial.
Hmm.
So start with your medical first,
Right.
and then after that, you we are the school is a school of operation
Hmm.
and also for hire.
Okay.
So you need to get insurance as well, and you'll
Hmm.
have to get that type of insurance.
Yeah. Okay.
So you get the insurance as well,
Hmm.
and make sure that you're covered with the insurance. And then after that, everything just starts flowing.
Right. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Uh, did you ever feel stuck? I mean, I'm asking some of the
hmm
similar questions, but did you feel stuck in your private at all? Like,
Yeah.
in what point was it? Did you feel kind of stuck at?
I would say for me, it was stage two performance takeoff and landings.
Hmm.
I could do a regular landing fine. And then it came to the performance takeoff and landings. I was like, man, I really have to work on this.
Yeah.
And once I did put in the time and the work with it, it just came pretty easy.
Gotcha. Can you describe
After.
what's so different about the performance takeoff and landings?
hmm So with the regular landing, you come in and you pretty much do a 3 point with your landing gears, your main landing gears, the two landing gears just coming down simultaneously, and then your nose just
Mhm.
slightly right after that. It's like two chirps, so what you hear chirp, chirp, as
Yeah.
you
Okay.
land, and that's just a normal landing.
Yeah.
But with the performance landing, like a soft field landing,
Mm.
you'll come in and you're coming in and you get into ground effect. Once you get into ground effect, you're flaring, and once that landing gear touches the main landing gears touch, you hold the nose up and you hold it up for as long as you possibly can
Mm.
until it just falls down, because when you do that, you are basically landing within a soft field.
Mhm.
And if you come in with a normal landing, you could flip the aircraft just by
Mm.
coming in, with that nose slamming down on some grass or soft field. You
Right.
could literally flip the aircraft or um, prop strike. You don't want to do that. So you
Yeah.
have to hold it up. And also, like, the soft field landing is pretty much the standard because it's literally the softest, the smoothest landing that you
That you
could
can
do.
do
Yeah.
anyways. Yeah.
So
And no one had to describe the soft field landing like that to me just yet. We did a video and put it on our YouTube, and that did pretty well. People found that to be pretty interesting, and it was nice to watch too. We had GoPros, so you could see
yeah,
the
yeah,
wheels and see what you're talking about,
yeah.
so they could extend how long they had the nose up, the front wheel. That's pretty cool. But you were saying like that was kind of tough, and you had to work at that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like, what was it that like was? Did you identify what you were like messing up and what clicked?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, when it came to it, it was getting into ground effect and making sure that I'm flaring correctly and not adding too much back pressure. I
Mm,
had to find the right sweet spot for the
yeah.
back pressure, and it came down to adding about a quarter inch or a half inch at a time. And then once you find that sweet spot,
Mhm.
hold it there
Mhm.
and don't pull right after you find it, because if you pull, you'll end up pulling up and you could possibly balloon. And by ballooning, it means you'll touch, come back up, touch.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. You just want
Right.
to find that sweet spot. So
Yeah.
when it came to the soft field landings, that was it for me. Just had to
Yeah.
find that back pressure, and once I found that, it was good to
Okay, I
go. So
gotcha. So you were adding too much back pressure, right?
mhm.
How does someone know that they're adding too much back pressure? Is it just a ballooning effect, kind of like what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Gotcha. And so you just eased into it better, like a little slower.
hmm
What do you think makes you like accidentally add too much though? Just not understanding that that's what you're doing, or is it just you're being too aggressive?
Too aggressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like when you are holding the yoke and you're
Yeah.
pulling back on it, you have to be gentle with it, and you really have to get a feel with it. And
Mhm.
it's not always going to be the same. You could do quarter inch, you can do half inch, and sometimes you have to do a full inch and you'll catch it. But That depends on the wind, if there's like a crosswind or anything, or if it's
Mhm.
coming straight down the pipe, like of the nose of the aircraft, you have the wind fighting you.
Right.
So things like that. It's just and correcting for the wind when you're also coming in for a landing or for a takeoff. You have to
Right.
correct for it. So
That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, hopefully that person that asked on the YouTube channel about the private rating pilot, hopefully we've gotten some answers for them, and they like what they heard. But what I want to know too is you're moving into your instrument rating. How's that going? You said it's a completely different language, and it's very precise. What was one of the first things you had to do as an instrument student?
well, as an instrument student, I had to also start studying.
Yeah.
So you have to take your written as
Mhm.
well. Like for all your ratings, you have to take a written test
Right.
with the FAA, and just hopping on Shepherd Air and making sure that I'm studying, as
Hmm.
well as also going to the ground classes and now learning about instrument flying
Right.
and the different type of approaches and the different type of holds when it
Hmm.
comes to intercepting and tracking, and learning about GPS and also the different systems that help
Mm.
work with the GPS, like RAIM and WAS,
Hmm.
and also learning the privileges of an instrument pilot
Hmm.
and things of that nature. So,
Right. Right. I hear people talk about it a lot, and how to me it almost sounds like you're learning how to use the technology.
yeah,
It's really what a lot of it's about,
yeah,
right? And we use
definitely.
the G1000, right?
Yes.
Uh, can you tell me a little bit more about operating the G1000? Because
Yeah.
to me, it sounds not intuitive that you would be operating so much technology while flying a
Hmm.
plane. But I mean, sure, they have a whole method for it. So,
Yeah.
anyways, can you tell me a little bit about the G1000? I'm not sure what there is to say about it though.
Yeah.
So,
Well, with the G1000, it
mhm.
helps out a lot because the G1000, the Garmin 1000, it has a PFD, a primary flight display, and an MFD,
Okay.
multi-function display. And the primary flight display shows your primary instruments, and then the
Mhm.
MFD shows things like your RPMs and tachometer and your
Mhm.
EGT, and it also has your map to where you can
Mm.
see the other aircrafts that are around. You can see what airspace you're in and things like that. Now, when you're an instrument, the whole point of having an instrument flight plan or flying in instrument conditions is to
Yeah.
make sure that you can fly while using your instruments.
Yeah.
So you can't look outside. So you have to look at the G1000, and you have to be able to operate around the G1000
Right.
in order to fly from one place to the next safely.
Mhm.
And you really have to trust your instruments,
Yeah.
because if you don't, then it's not going to go well. So you have to trust your instruments.
Yeah, yeah. I- is that the newest concept when you're beginning your instrument? Like, what is there? What are you using the most when you get started?
Autopilot.
Yeah.
You're using autopilot a lot in instrument, and you do hand fly an instrument, but the majority of the time you can't look outside because you'll get disorientated. If you look outside, then it's going to throw off everything, for at least for too long, because
Yeah.
there's certain things that come into play, like the vestibular illusions.
Okay.
So you can't look outside for too long because you'll have some things going on that you don't want to happen. So you have to
Mm.
look in and trust your instruments. And you'll be looking at things like your HSI, your horizontal situation indicator. And you'll also be looking at your MFD and looking at the GPS and seeing where you are. So when it comes to that, you have to know how to operate the autopilot, because you'll put it in autopilot,
Mhm.
and you could literally, like, the air traffic controller will tell you to fly this heading, and you're looking outside, but you can only look outside for so long. You have to come right back down here and look at your instruments, look at your HSI, and bug your heading by using the dials within the G1000.
Mhm.
And then if they tell you to do something else, then like climb up to another altitude, then you can actually tell the G1000 to climb at a specific vertical speed, and
Mhm.
just by pressing a few buttons, and it'll climb to exactly what you want it to.
Yeah.
And as you're doing that, you have to trust the instruments and make sure that you're scanning and looking around and making sure things are correct, and planning for the next thing that's coming up, like
Right.
looking at your comms and making sure that you have your comms ready so
Right.
that you can switch over from one place to the next.
Mhm.
So
Gotcha. Okay, and I like to ask those questions because it kind of gives a little bit of insight on what it's like flying. But I guess if I were to try to take it to a more personal place, what do you like so much about flying? Are you able to kind of describe that a little bit? Because flying is like you get to be free in the sky and that whole thing.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about the craft of flying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to flying, what I like about it the most, honestly, it's kind of hard for me to answer that because I like all of it.
Uh-huh.
I like every single aspect of it.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that like when you're up there, you're able to literally at times look down and look around and just look at the world beneath, and also look up and see the world above you, and look around, you see the world around you, and you realize like, okay, like we're really up here and we're really flying, and this is amazing. This is something that not only is pretty cool and pretty amazing, but it doesn't necessarily feel like you're working, but you
Right.
are definitely working, and you're definitely like making sure that you're paying attention to every single thing while you're up there.
Right.
Because if not, then it could literally be a dangerous situation, and that's not what aviation is about. It's all
Yeah.
about communication and safety.
Hmm.
So you just have to continue to scan and continue to keep up, and
Right. Yeah.
so
Do you plan on flying general aviation outside of thrust at any point?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
What would that look like? Like, what would a trip in a plane? What would you use it for?
I would honestly use it to go and fly to visit family and friends.
Yeah.
You can either rent a plane and go fly in it, or if you have your own plane, you could get in it and fly in it as well. Take your family, your friends somewhere, and
Yeah.
go get a burger,
Yeah.
or or
That's
or
what I would want to do.
yeah,
To fly
yeah,
somewhere just to eat. Yeah, it'd
yeah,
be kind of cool.
yeah.
That's what people do, though, right?
Yeah, people definitely do that. They
Yeah.
got this thing called $100 burger, where they'll fly to FBO and go get $100 burger or something like that.
Yeah. It's for the vibes.
Yeah, for the vibes.
uh, do you have any plans on doing that, or have you flown outside for like fun or recreationally yet?
I have some plans to fly outside
Mhm.
of flight training at the school,
Mhm.
but as of right now, no, I have not done that.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I can imagine like the first time I get to try to take my girlfriend or something
Mm,
like that on a trip, or take a friend or a family member. That'd be kind of
mm.
fun.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Okay, when what I want to know is there's people out here who have a hard time with the pressure of
Mm,
flight training. And I want to know if you have any experience with what the pressure feels like, because you've gone through a check ride now as well,
mm,
and you've done like what we call stage checks,
mm,
and you kind of have to be in front of a CFI sometimes when you're doing
mm.
difficult things. Can you talk a little bit about do you feel pressure, and how do you handle your check ride?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when it comes to going through the stage checks and going through a check ride, you really just have to treat it as if it's a normal training flight. Because if you don't, then you might overwhelm yourself.
Right.
Take a deep breath, drink some water, just relax and treat it like a normal flight,
Mm-hmm.
and everything will be fine.
Yeah.
Because when you're flying, you have to be precise, and you have to be alert.
Mm-hmm.
So worrying is not going to do anything but just make things a little bit oversaturated as you're doing all the tasks.
Right.
So just stay sharp and stay alert and treat it like a regular training flight, and
Right.
you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
One thing I like about pilots, that you always find another way in aviation. There's always another word for everything that I kind of already understand. Like, and I like how there's like a almost like a parallel. So, for example, even just thrust. A lot of people
Hmm.
can equate that to something in a car, like almost like
Hmm.
what would you equate that to, like horsepower or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then there's like always like torque and things. There's like a
Hmm.
different way to always say it. One of my favorite ones is task saturation.
Yeah.
How would you describe what? Can you describe how we use task saturation in like in words to describe a situation in aviation? And can you tell me kind of like, can you like relate it to normal people?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so when you're in the aircraft,
Hmm.
it's best to stay ahead of the plane so that you don't oversaturate yourself when it comes to all the things that you'll have to do.
Right.
Because as you're flying, you're always transitioning from doing one thing to the next.
Hmm.
So if you set yourself up to where the next thing you have to do is kind of already waiting on you to come to it, and then once you get there, you go to the next thing, but you already have set it up to where you're you're ready to roll into it, you make sure that you don't overload yourself with pressure
Right.
that doesn't need to be there. So
Right. Is I feel like it's just another way of saying overwhelm.
yeah, definitely.
But I like the word task saturation or like oversaturated with tasks.
Yeah,
I like those words because it's more specific.
yeah.
It's kind of like it just it's like it's almost like you can know what it means just by hearing it. When you hear
Hmm.
overwhelm, it's like yeah, I'm overwhelmed. But like
Hmm.
when you hear task saturation, it's like I'm thinking about too many different things at once. It's
Hmm.
one step at a time.
One
It kind of
step at a
implies
time.
the solution.
Hmm.
And to your point of saying not getting nervous, uh, you're gonna oversaturate yourself.
Hmm.
Um, it's really just about focus on like trying to focus on one thing at a time. Chair flying, I
Hmm.
see why chair flying is such a big thing. It's kind of like choreography.
Hmm.
Um, it makes it instinctual to know what from one step to another what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
From how I hear people talking about it, even though it's awkward. Okay, well, let's back up a little bit. You've had a great experience here at Thrust. It sounds like. Do you have any tips for someone who's literally? Let's just say there's a student. They're about to have their first day as
Hmm.
a at a school, somewhat like Thrust, something like a 141 accelerated program. What would you say to that person?
I would say to ask questions. If you have a question and it
Mhm,
comes up within your mind,
mhm.
don't be scared to ask. I promise you, the person next to you has the same question.
Right.
They're just, so whoever asks first is, they're going to get an answer
Yeah.
from. But make sure you literally ask questions about things that you do not understand. And
Mhm.
if there's something that you don't understand, dig into it and understand it.
Yeah.
Because when you understand things that you're not familiar with when it's first introduced to you,
Mhm.
it helps on down in the future.
Yeah.
Because everything that you start learning, you're going to continue to build on top of that. None of it goes away.
Right.
So it's good to literally ask about things that you don't understand. That way you can imbibe the information and just have it sitting on, in your mind so you can keep applying.
Did you ever get nervous about asking questions when you were first starting out?
No.
No? Gotcha. You just went for it, right?
Yeah.
Was there ever a reason where you like regretted asking a question?
Not really.
Yeah.
Because you hear the phrase, there's no such thing as a stupid question.
Yeah.
But no, there's not a
Yeah.
question.
I like to just ask that because you saying no is like is the point. It's
Mhm.
like ask the question. Like there's really not much to lose. Some people are like, I don't want to sound dumb. I'm like, bro, you don't know how to fly a plane yet. Like you should ask questions if you don't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
something.
exactly.
So that's a good idea. All right. Well, look, we've gotten into a good spot. I think already. I gotten to know a little bit about how you started flying and your mindset when you're going into starting something new.
Mhm.
It seems like you just kind of stay focused to me.
Mhm.
That's the key takeaway I'm having here is that you have your eye on the ball and you don't really you don't waver from that too much. And I think that seems to be something that helps some people just kind of like go straight through
Mhm.
things. So
Definitely.
does that sound about right to you?
Yeah.
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 How would your friends and family describe you what do you think? How do you think they would describe you?
I always try to stay very positive,
Yeah.
like at all times,
Yeah.
and always have a good outlook on whatever's going on. Just making sure that you stay positive.
Yeah.
And um, I don't know. It's funny you asked me that. Now I feel like I have to ask them to see what they would
Yeah.
say.
Something make you
Yeah,
think about it a little bit, huh? For
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Well, it's to me, you seem like yes, like positive and kind of focused, and that seems like a good thing to probably have during flight training. So, I want to say thank you for joining us on this episode of Pilots Say What, where we get to hear what pilots have to say. Um, yeah, Adrian, it's been nice talking to you. If you guys enjoyed this conversation, if you're still here, we'd love to have a like, comment, and subscribe. Of course, that helps more people who are interested in what we're doing here find us the same way that you have. So thank you for tuning in. And my name is Zach. I'll see y'all on the next episode next week.